All right, go ahead, Mark.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jeff. So I'll call this is a special meeting of the executive meeting. I'll call it to order at 7:06 p.m. Conflict of interest question of the officers. I will each comment on this. I have no conflicts with anything on tonight's agenda.
I also have no conflicts with anything on the agenda.
No conflicts here.
No conflicts here
Okay.
as well.
Thanks. Item 3 is administrative follow-up to the STR meeting if necessary. So we did not have the STR CAP meeting last week. I think it was a week ago from today, a week ago today. Sarah Absher was stuck in the weather and the ice storm, couldn't get home, and so that was postponed. I guess we talked last night or yesterday. She attended the steering committee meeting, and I think we talked a little bit about getting this on the calendar. And Jeff, you were at the meeting. I think she said in the next couple of months she wanted to have this meeting. Is that what you heard, Jeff?
Well, so what she talked about at the steering committee meeting yesterday was that the consulting firm that she is working with to bring Tillamook County into compliance with SB 406, that she'll want to have a meeting about that within, say, the next 6 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
So I think since Sarah is not here now and we can't reschedule a meeting, I think our most productive thing we could and we probably shouldn't talk about it very long, but
Right. I agree.
But we kind of got taken by surprise when we scheduled the last meeting. I think there is a lot of interest in this, so maybe we need to reschedule, but I guess we can just put it on the agenda to talk about at the February 10th meeting, and actually maybe not have the full discussion, but have like a short version and then figure out where to go next. Like, how about that?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good to me, Jeff. Getting it on the calendar is something we're going to want to do, and talking about it February 10th is fine. We just need to pick a date. And she did say that this meeting could be, and this is maybe what we also want to talk to the membership about, is she said it could be a hybrid meeting, which I understood that people could be in person and also virtual. They could be at either watching it at home or be present. So that's another thing maybe we can talk with the membership about at the February 10th meeting.
Yes. Okay. And by the way, I'm sort of keeping a rough agenda for February 10th as we go. So
Perfect, Jeff. Okay, yeah, that's the end of the night tonight. So okay. Item number 4, nominations committee for the June elections. We have I think one person who has expressed interest. Kat Nordland has expressed interest in the nominations committee. And then the role of the nominations committee, I know, Jeff, you've probably got the bylaws. I've got the bylaws up here, and it just says a nominations committee will be appointed by the chair 4 months before an election. The purpose of the committee shall be to prepare a slate of candidates for each position. The committee is dissolved after the election. The routine that we've used, or that I've used this year on all of our committees, is to contact each person who has expressed interest and speak with them a little bit about the position or the committee they're applying to. I have not had a chance to do that. I will be speaking with Kat this week. And so at this point, I think we have one candidate for the nominations committee. I would just add that I think Nancy's talked in the bylaws about and this is down the road or later, but Nancy's talked about the bylaws committee looking at the nominations committee and maybe making it a 1 year in case there are any changes in committees and that, so anyways, Jeff, Alex, or Chris, any comments?
No comments for me.
Okay.
Alex?
No comments. I'm interested to, aside from I'm interested to see how the nominations committee is going to
Right.
function any differently than what our 2 previous nominations experiences have been, which I think have been pretty straightforward and transparent. But I know Nancy is not one to shy away from another committee, and you had some thoughts on why we would need a nominations committee. Doesn't seem like it's going to do any harm, but it also at the same time, I worry about maybe redundancy and certainly meeting exhaustion from membership.
Yeah, so I have a few thoughts. One is that like my experience with the nominating committee last time around, when I was nominated, I exchanged an email or two with Roger, who may or may not have been the chair. Like I think he claimed not to be the chair. But I don't like at least my experience as a candidate is that I don't know that if the nominating committee did anything behind the scenes that I didn't know about, like it wasn't much. And I think I think it's not worth our time to go try and chase down, say, 3 people who want to be on this committee. So I would propose let's float this and certainly maybe we should open it for public comment right now and then open it for public comment again on February 10th. But maybe a subset of the officers can just say, well, we'll be the nominating committee, and it's just going to be like we're not going to have special meetings for it or anything. It'll just be part of our regular officer duties because like realistically, probably most of this is going to fall on my shoulders anyway. So so why not? But I would suggest opening it for public comment to see if anyone here is like, no, I want to be on the nominating committee, or no, we really need to have a nominating committee that actually does things. So
sure, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Be careful, baby.
Yeah, we'll open it to public comment if anybody who's at the meeting has a comment either way on that. Now's a good time to, share your opinion on it.
Well, I'll just say that we did talk about it at the last bylaws committee meeting, and Alex and Mark, you were both there, which I appreciate it, and a lot of our committee members are, and some of the guests. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Got my VPN on. Anyway, that it always seems more transparent, I think, whether it's needed or not, to have a separate nominating committee rather than have the officers be doing that function themselves. And in most cases, it would make sense, and they don't necessarily need to vet. And the way you guys have been running things over this past year have been terrific, where in terms of the transparency need, where you've to apply, and it's worked out really nicely. So, and then Mark, you go and talk to each person, etc. But I do think there is, in my opinion, there's a purpose of a nominating committee. I don't know. I think, Michael, you had some comments in our bylaws committee meeting. I'll put you on the spot, see if you have anything to add.
well, and Tom Prohadic has his hand up.
Yeah. Thank you,
Oh.
Nancy. It seems to me that it gives recognition to the process. The process, if it lasts for the year, the term of the association, then that group is authorized to act in the meantime. For example, if they want to discuss the opportunities to some of the townsfolks, they can do so. They have to follow the open meetings laws, of course. but they do not have to be called right away. It's just simply referred to them, but their task is to generate some interest and some candidates if they can. And I think that a continuing standing committee gives structure to that and a set of expectations that that committee can have. It's a challenge to do something is what it is.
Thank you. Tom, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just looking at the bylaws and,
Uh-huh.
maybe we'll have new bylaws by the time there's a nomination committee. I apologize, I can't get my video to work, which is probably best. But isn't it the case that under the current bylaws that the nominations are made by the chair, but the general assembly of the membership has to vote for any positions on any committees? I was just looking at the bylaws and
I
go ahead.
believe so.
This is specifically for the election of the vice chair and the treasurer. So it's not for appointments to committees. So I
Well,
think what the bylaws have to say about that is that they don't have much to say, but like the nominations committee said, like they are to create a slate of candidates or nominations, and it doesn't say how or anything like that. So and what we've just been having membership or people self-nominate in the past. So
yeah, I'm just,
but I mean, I hear the arguments in favor of having a committee, and I think that's all fine, but someone has to step up and be on the committee. And I don't think it's like a good use of our time to kind of chase people down and try and get people to do it if they're not interested in it.
well, there's no doubt that these bylaws need to be amended, which is what is happening, and plaudits to the bylaws committee. But if you look under voting, under the current rules, Nesquin C action shall be by a majority vote of the members, including officers and present. And then it says that, nominations, there's a discussion of elections. Nominations shall be forwarded to the nominations committee. And maybe it's just talking about officers. It's not clear to me. Vacancies shall be filled by a vote of the general membership at the next general meeting. I guess one's going to have to parse the ambiguities that exist in the bylaws. But my understanding was always that any committee that was formed, and I think this was true with both the bylaws committee and the community planning committee, or at least this is the practice in the last year, that whoever the nominees were, they were voted on by the general membership.
Yeah, the nominations committee will be voted on February 10th.
Yeah.
That date is specified in the bylaw. That is clear in the bylaws that
Yeah.
have to be at that meeting.
Yeah, you're right, Tom. Yeah.
So right now, February 10th is 3 weeks away. We have one potential
Right.
nominee.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dilemma, right? I mean, we have one candidate so far. And so Jeff has made a good point. We haven't had a lot of people stepping up to volunteer for the nominations committee. So,
But if we don't make a decision in this meeting, we have to make one like Mark basically has to make one by himself. So
Yeah, I guess
we should decide what we're going to do.
April is not 4 months in advance of the election, so that would be that's the next general meeting, right?
Yeah.
correct.
Well, I was probably criticized for it, but I did find people who would step up and look and try and get people involved. I'm not sure how they really did very much, because they either found somebody to say yes or they didn't find anybody. Most of them didn't find anyone. Most people have to decide they want or know about it and then decide they're going to take it on, which that doesn't come easily.
It would seem to
Right.
me that if you didn't have, I would say, at least 2 or 3 on the nominating committee, that you would just, I mean, if there isn't, or if people aren't volunteering to do that, then you don't have a nominations committee. I don't know. Right?
Could we write some language into the bylaws that in the absence of people stepping up to be on the nominations committee, it falls to the board?
We could do that in the future,
Okay.
Yeah.
but that doesn't solve the problem right now.
Right. Right.
I think
can't
Michael
figure
had
out
his
how to-
hand up and
Oh.
I could comment too.
I'm
so.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I didn't
yeah.
know. Monitor.
Any change in the bylaws is going to go through a lengthy process and
Yeah.
probably referred to us. And we're already handling that. It's an issue to be discussed. It's an issue to be looked at very closely. There are some mechanical things that need to be taken into account. If you don't have anybody to do a bylaws committee, then who does the responsibility lie with? And that can be clarified, and that's something we'll talk about. Incidentally, the 4-month issue, those kinds of issues are never meant to prohibit choices after that point. Those rules right there are meant to get on the bus. Let's go.
Yeah, get it going.
Let's get the process rolling and do it fairly and equitably and observably.
Thank you. Nancy, did you have a comment, Nancy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that if you don't have people actually actively volunteering, I think it's very fair for the officers to go out and find people to apply and to be part of it. And normally you can elect a nominations committee from the floor as well. So, so even if you don't have them noticed in advance, at least with the current bylaws, I think you can very appropriately have them nominate themselves from the floor to be on the nominating committee. So, or volunteer.
I mean, we've done a whole lot of like chasing people down and getting them to be on committees. And I think we've kind of, I don't want to waste that on something that we think is not important or that currently has no clear role. So.
That's a good point. And you know, how much is the organization actually capable and able to do? That's always an overriding question. But Nancy's point is a very good one, and the orderly process requires that the nominations committee report, and after that, it's open on the floor for nominations.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it leaves it up to you folks to go find that person, you have all the rights and responsibilities to do that yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how high of a profile things are at this point for people to understand that there's what the nominations committee does and that they could play a role in that. I think it's pretty quiet this time of year. They're not asking, how can I help? You know,
Dan, what you missed at the beginning is we don't know what the nominations committee does.
Well, I think that's because the bylaws don't specify currently, but really what they're supposed to do is make sure that people understand what the jobs are that are being looked at and what the responsibilities are, communicate that and ask for people to step forward, do a little vetting if possible, and even go out and try to find some people if possible. But like today for the nominations committee, if we were to send out another email just on, this is what the nominating committee does, these are the 2 positions that need to be filled, and would you please step up? You know, we would love to have volunteers for the nominating committee to be elected on February 10th.
Yeah, Jeff doesn't have anything else to do, but
I mean, quite frankly, I would rather do it myself than try and get 2 people to be on the committee. Like very, very seriously. Like,
yeah, but I was thinking the same thing Nancy was. You know, I'm coming to most of these meetings, and I'm sure you've sent something out requesting nominations to the nominations committee.
Yep.
And I seem to remember it, but
3 emails.
it might three. Okay. Well, you might try one more. 4 times is a charm.
well, I also encourage people to contact me if they wanted to understand what the job entailed. Nobody ever called me.
Yeah,
Well, even when you just say, if you want to understand better how much time this might take, I think, Mark, I shared that with you.
yeah, yeah.
24 hours a month if there are 8 hours a month if there's no committees, and 24 hours
Yeah.
a month if there are
Yeah,
committees.
yeah, you did. You did
I think
share
that's
that.
doubled now.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I wonder if, I know, Jeff, you feel this way, if when we're redoing the nominating committee on the bylaws, if it would make sense, if you're just not getting any interest, if you do have something, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but if you do have something where you want to have people who are interested in the positions apply, and no one really vets them, but they put up the reasons why they want to be an officer and what
right.
their qualifications are, like you've done with these committee positions, and
Right.
and avoid the nominating committee. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
know.
think in the interest of time, we should not talk too much about what the right revisions to the bylaws are. And I think the two choices we have are just some number of people who, be they officers or not officers, volunteer to be on the bylaws committee, understanding that it's not going to do anything. That we're just doing it so that we can
you
follow
mean the nominations committee, Jeff? Yeah.
right. So be on the nominations committee
Nominations,
with the understanding that
Yeah.
like we're just doing it to fill the slots, and we're not going to ask you to do any work. Or a couple of people have been advocating, no, you should just try harder to get people. And I've spent a lot of time trying to get people, and so has Mark, and I think this one is not worth it.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. But I think ultimately, like the way the bylaws are written, Mark gets to make the call himself what he wants to do. So,
That's an important opinion.
yeah.
Yeah.
You say you've worked hard and you've gotten one person. and
Yeah.
Well, I haven't worked hard on the nominations committee because I don't know what they do, but like getting that the community plan steering committee up and running was a whole lot of work, and that was really important, so it was worth it.
Yeah.
But chasing people down and worrying that we have no one and trying to kind of like Mark and I are going to bear the brunt of this, trying to chase people down in the next 2 weeks to try and get someone to step up.
Yeah.
By February 10th, when we don't know what they're supposed to do.
And yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. I agree with Jeff, and I think just in the interest of time, I mean, I would do exactly what Jeff is proposing, which is I'll help nominate somebody. I'll try and
You can put me on it, and
Yeah.
we should have the same discussion at the
Right.
general meeting. We should be
Right.
transparent what we're doing. That like
Right.
no one stepped up, so we're going to put these people on it.
Right.
But it's just going to be the officers doing work.
Right.
So.
So I think just in the interest of time, I think that's probably the best route to go at this point, unless people have objections to doing that.
I think I agree with that. And,
Okay.
you know, having
Okay.
no one step up to a position where they're trying to get people to step up to a position.
Right.
And by the way, I will write summarize this in the notice for the February 10th and say, if you disagree, if you want to volunteer, knowing this,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
like nominate yourself from the floor, we'll put you on the committee. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
or reach out so that then talk to Mark beforehand. So
Sounds good.
I agree. We'll move on here. Okay, so that was, let's see, okay, number 5, bylaws committee discussion with the officers. So, inform and solicit input from officers on important matters, roadmap of major milestones. I think, Nancy, you've looked at this, so I'll just let you take it away here for the bylaws committee.
Oh, okay. So you're ready for the bylaws committee. So I want to share the screen if I could. Jeff. You just go into share screen and you can let
you
me
should be able to do
have
it.
the permission.
You should.
Yep, I
already-
can now. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm going to try to breeze through this because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to introduce the committee. Several of us are here tonight. Michael Beachley is our scribe. Tom Sipe is our editor. Wyatt Angelo and Bill Miller are committee members, and Susan Schoenberg is on tonight as well. And everybody comes to just pretty much every meeting on time, doing great work. We've had 10 meetings so far. We're meeting twice a month. We are posting all of our documents and videos online so that all the members can go in and see things before the meeting. And we are having increasing interest and attendance among members. We had 17 people at our last meeting, including our committee. So it's fabulous, all the input we're getting. So what we're looking at is review, reformatting, and updating the bylaws. We're focusing very much on Oregon Public Meeting Law, which has been new for a lot of us to work within, and we're finding it fairly unwieldy, but it's workable. We're providing lots of opportunities for member input with meetings through documents and forms, and we're going to be having special bylaws feedback meetings that I'll cover in a moment. So what we've done so far is developed a process. We've largely with Tom Sipe's excellent leadership on this, numbered existing bylaws. We've mapped to Robert's Rules of Order format, which is the industry standard. We've done editorial changes and developed a document naming standard, again, through Tom. And we have a document management repository that is great. One of the things that we still have on our list of to-dos is to develop a web page. And so I owe Jeff some input on a web page for the bylaws committee. But right now, you can get to all the documents that have happened in previous meetings as well as upcoming meetings as we go forward. We've also developed a project plan for a substantive review, and we've assigned each article of the bylaws, there are 10, to 1 or 2 committee members. So now we're working on the substantive review of the bylaws. So we have now, as of our last meeting, voted on recommendations for Article 1, which is name the committee, which is no change. Article 6, executive boards. And I just want to thank and commend the officers for holding this meeting tonight as to kind of try out the concept of executive board meetings. We feel like it's important for people to be able to do some planning and a little bit more interaction and still meet Oregon Public Meeting Law between the every 2-month general meetings. We approved the parliamentary authority and amending the bylaws sections. And by approval, I mean to recommend to the county and to the membership. We're currently working on Article 2 object, which is a short article about what's the objective. I'm going to go back to Article 3. We're working on Article 4 officers, Article 5 meetings, Article 7 subcommittees, and we're naming committees subcommittees because we realize that it's kind of strange to have a committee under the NCAC committee. And then Article 10, other bylaws provisions. In most of these cases, we're coming back to our committee members after reviewing with 1 or 2 people and having 1 to 2, 3 meetings to talk about each of these. Article 3 is membership and boundaries, by far the most complex. And we've had at least 7 meetings now on this, and we're continuing. And we're getting lots of feedback. We are going to have at least 2 different feedback sessions that will be more informal. But right now we do not have actual proposals to make. We're working really hard on it and taking lots of input. Sarah Absher is personally mapping, we found at the last meeting, all the current members that had registered for the June election meeting to see where they fall within the maps. And our committee at this point has a general feeling that we don't want to exclude people that are currently members, although we are getting some feedback that we should be more exclusive than inclusive. So there's a lot to talk about on what constitutes membership, whether, how many residents versus property owners, if there's an emphasis that should be on either of those, and we're still working on all of that. So on input, we have multiple ways of providing input to the committee, and we're getting lots of it. They can email me at ncacbylaws@gmail.com. They can email the NCAC general email, which we've been getting for forwarding. And I think, Jeff, when you get that, you forward it to the committee, correct?
That's correct.
So we get that. We're releasing a comment form shortly, as soon as we figure out how to make it easy to get that submitted. And we have we will be having, and then people can come to our meetings and comment during public comment. So we're getting a lot of that now. And then we will be having the bylaws review feedback sessions. So part of this bylaws approval process is that once we make a decision on our recommendation for an article, we will be putting that into the bylaws. Tom Sype will be putting that into the bylaws on the webpage for that. It doesn't mean that that's going to be what we bring forward completely, that we will be then holding bylaws feedback sessions for members to discuss informally. And then we may update what we're recommending. That will be more of a less formal give and take. People can comment, and that will be via Zoom. We're also periodically reviewing with the NCAC officers in Tillamook County, County Council, and Sarah Absher. We need to obtain county approval pending any kind of vote of the membership, and then we will notice the membership for a vote at least 10 days in advance, and then have a vote on the amended bylaws. Once we get through the bylaws, then there's another area called policies and procedures that are a little more easily adaptable, that will have expansion on the bylaws with more detail of different kinds of things. And they also must be approved by the membership. So timeline, we're looking at feedback sessions in February and March. That 1 or 2 articles for each feedback session. Some of these articles are very, very brief, so we could have a couple of them. Well, I'm sure we'll have at least 2 for Article 3, and then we're going to schedule them for evenings or weekends so that people who are working are able to attend. We're targeting April for a vote on the bylaws, and then targeting June for a vote on the policies and procedures. Could be quite optimistic. If we don't get through and get that, then obviously it will be delayed. So, but that's kind of what we're thinking at this point. I just have to say, I can't thank the committee enough. It's just every member is pulling their weight and working really hard on this, and we have some great discussions. So I think we're trying very hard to be transparent, listen to everybody's input, and that's all I have to say. So are there any comments?
So,
And I will stop sharing now.
okay. So one, that was great. One bit of feedback that I have for, say, the next executive meeting is to focus more on what are the problems that you need help from the officers to solve for the next month.
Okay.
Like that these meetings should be like coordinating and
A
problem solving
conversation.
sessions, not like here's our entire plan, because we've heard that a bunch of times.
Okay.
And so and I put stuff on the agenda specifically like towards that. So it looks like you're planning to have meetings in the next 2 months, but it doesn't look like you're ready to schedule them.
You know, I think we could schedule them actually.
Okay.
Just haven't done it yet, but I think we probably could. I need to talk
Okay.
with the committee about when the committee members would be available, but yeah, I think, well, I wasn't planning on scheduling any until after the February 10th general meeting, so we could let people know. But well, we
So-
would
so
have
what
some
it would've
dates
been-
for people to know. So yeah.
Yeah, and so for the next go around, like the best, like what would have been great is if we scheduled them today and then could announce them on February 10th.
Okay.
But we can't.
Okay.
So we'll figure it out. But that's what I was hoping. Like I kind of tried to signal that with the way the agenda was written.
Well,
but,
I guess I should have gone back and paid more attention to the agenda,
Yeah.
so,
but,
but
okay.
I don't think we don't need your approval on setting the dates for the feedback
But
sessions,
you
right?
need my help.
Yes, that's true. But I mean, do we need a vote of the officers to schedule them?
No,
Oh, but we need to pick dates and we need to make sure that they don't conflict with, say,
Yes,
the hypothetical meetings that the community plan committee might be.
Correct.
And
Right,
it
right.
so happens, I don't think they're going to be having any sessions in the next 2 months, so that turns out to be okay. But that's the kind of thing why we have this
Sure.
meeting, so that we can
Coordinate.
yeah,
Coordinate.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate that. And I also want to thank you, Jeff, Jeff has been amazingly helpful for us on getting all of this set up to be able to have our documents in there and schedule everything. And I also want to thank Chris because I'm using our Zoom, our committee Zoom session on a regular basis for one-on-one meetings. And it's really been nice, as well as our regular bylaws committee meetings. So it's been nice having that Zoom contact, and he's constantly sending me approval codes to get into Zoom. So thank you, Chris.
Okay.
So your next meeting is this coming Friday or the next?
No, it's the next Friday. It's
Okay.
February 2nd.
So why
So on
don't,
the agenda would be to set
Yeah.
up our
yeah,
meetings.
why
for
don't
that.
we schedule the meetings so that we can announce them on the 10th and we'll.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll run that by you beforehand, because you're kind of the keeper of all the dates, right?
Yeah, yeah, more or less. I'll try it if I can. I'll come to that meeting and then we can. I'll
Okay,
talk about it there.
Sounds good. And we
Okay.
also want to get the website up and running, so I know you're waiting for me on that.
And so I
Your
have
page.
I specifically put discuss messaging for February 10th meeting, and my thinking there was I don't think we want to have a 15-minute report from each committee every general meeting like that. That's going to eat up a lot of time. So maybe we can use this time to discuss what is the most important thing that you need to communicate to the general membership about what's going on. And it's probably that you're going to have these meetings coming up. And then,
Mhm.
um,
Yes.
so, so I'm going to put on the agenda, like, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. And if there's anything else important besides we're going to have these meetings, this is what we're talking about, this is why it's important that you come and talk to us, like give us your opinions about these bylaws topics, let me know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it might be nice to let people know too about where they can find our documents, but yes,
Yeah.
that could be very quick.
Right, yeah, that like probably things like, here's where you go to find the documents. We want to remind people every meeting, but it's you can do it in 15 seconds.
Right.
And-
Sounds
and
good.
So like basically go to our webpage, there's links there to find our documents. So
Mhm.
that's the stuff that I had that I wanted to use this time for. So
Yeah.
Mhm. Did you guys who attended our meeting have any comments on anything you felt like we could do better, or any comments? Okay,
No.
No, I thought it was
Yeah, I thought it was good.
very thorough and good.
okay.
This is Tom. Nancy, you know what I think.
We appreciate your coming to every meeting, Tom, and commenting, so thank you.
I've now said 3 times that they're doing an exceptional job.
Yeah.
okay.
Very,
Okay.
very detailed and
Yeah.
very transparent.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. We'll move on to the item 6, the community plan steering committee discussion with officers. So Rand, I'll turn it over to you, Rand.
Well, I think the work, you guys have been supportive, especially Jeff has been supportive. I appreciated Mark, you being there the other night, and Alex as well. So we're getting the support we need. We're finally getting our feet on the ground. And as I said, I assume I have enough time to say the things that we've been doing in committee and where we're getting to. Is that true, Jeff? I have 5 minutes, is that right?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes, okay, well, I think I can describe these
Yeah.
6 or 7 things where we are at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as needing your help on things, I had written you, Mark, and I asked Sarah directly whether we could, if she has any flexibility on doing the short-term rental cap meetings at the same time we're trying to develop a community plan, which I think is a total train wreck. I think we kind of need to figure out if those can be separated in time somehow so that the issues that are directly involved can be dealt with in themselves rather than having them both be all mixed up together in some kind of chaos. So I haven't gotten an answer about that, but I think that is probably just something Sarah has to decide anyway. And so that's the only thing I had thought of that the officers could help us with. So I'm not, I didn't know if you wanted to have a report as thorough as Nancy's for tonight, but I don't have anything like that. As far as clarity as to where our committee is, I can read the things I'm going to say at the meeting if that's what you're looking for.
Well, like maybe we can walk through it. So we talked about this in your meeting yesterday, but
Yeah.
So right now you don't have a master plan, but Lynn is going to take a first stab at that.
Yes.
And so maybe we can plan for the next meeting that you can present your big plan to the officers, and then we can use that as a like we'll check in on how you're going according to the plan at each executive meeting for progress.
That sounds good. I mean, I guess the short summary has been, we've been waiting for Sarah to give us a protocol and information about the consultant as to what role they're going to play. And we were on hold because we didn't know what the consultant was going to have as input and influence on our process. And so that's kind of cleared away. That seems to be cleared up, that they'll focus on the SB 406.
Right.
And so that's good news. What? I can't tell if someone's trying to say something.
I think Mark just said something, or like
Okay,
said yes or
all right.
something.
Sorry,
I
sorry.
couldn't tell. And then, so, yeah, when we now are focused on using Tom's outline, very great help from Tom Seep to help us get a clearer picture of how to go about this. That's going to be kind of our working document, and we'll have our first take from Lynn and Guy at the next meeting as to what they came up with, mostly focused on implementing ordinances and the real policy aspects of the community plan as the gist of what is going to be of value out of our work. And I just briefly spoke with Lori as someone who I would work with on the more aspirational aspects and trying to be concise about those elements in the plan. So that's where we are coming into the next meeting. We've been meeting every 2 weeks when the holidays don't mess us up. So we'll be meeting on the next 2 meetings are set up for what, the 5th and the 19th, 18th. President's Day is the
Okay.
second one, but we think that's not going to be a problem. So the survey, it's not clear about the survey. That's probably one of the biggest elephants in the room since we developed a survey for 3 years and that's been kind of looked askance at. And Sarah gave us some pieces that I thought were not that valuable. So that's one of our challenges is to come up with something that we agree would be a valuable survey. That's still an unknown. But other than that, we've got a ways to go before we're having public meetings because we want to have something pretty digestible and understandable before we get the public involved and so they can read something and understand it and where it sits and develop some input on their part. So that's a kind of a vague characterization at this point, but it's been a vague process until just this last couple of days. So
Okay, and on the 10th, I think unless someone has a strong objection, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes too. And I'm gonna encourage you to like, because I think we don't want to like kind of fatigue our audience and have them kind of tune out. So think really carefully about a crisp message about like what you want them to know about where you are in your process and what they can expect going forward. You don't need to summarize everything that's happened or just like we're here, we're working. This is what I want you to know. Like, do you have any questions?
right, I'll write it out, Jeff, so I'm not
Okay.
extemporaneously bumbling around.
Okay.
And I know we say 5 minutes, but it's never 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
it'll be close, hopefully.
Yeah, I'll get some help from my group on a
Yeah, yeah.
summary statement.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you, Ran. And item 7, discuss whether to hold next executive meeting in 1 month or 2 months. I don't know. What do the folks, what's everybody feel about that?
I think once a month.
This is Chris. I would
Yeah.
suggest 2 months
Okay,
because we've got a general meeting next month.
yeah,
What do you think, Alex?
My inclination is every 2 months. However, since this is the first meeting, it might be nice to have one in a month and streamline the process and get everything, have another one under our belt before we move to 2 months. But I have no strong feelings either way. So we do have a general meeting next month, so we are gonna be everyone's gonna be talking in a month, within 3 weeks.
And my thought is, it like having like scheduling meetings makes like they create work, like people will come and talk about stuff. That said, I think if we want to kind of have a sort of cadence where the officers are checking in with the committees on a regular basis, 2 months is pretty long. But I do get that we're all busy people and every one of these meetings is more work for me because I write up the minutes and stuff. So I can see arguments for both, and we have 2 officers who kind of like would rather do every 2 months, so at least.
so I actually liked Alex's suggestion about having another one next month, even though we have a general meeting, and then I don't know, and then maybe because this is our first one and we do another one in a month, and then maybe we start every 2 months after that. you know, that wasn't a bad suggestion. But yeah, the meetings, I mean, we're all in a lot of meetings. I'm in a lot of meetings. Everybody's in a lot of meetings. So, you know, I don't know. I
Yeah,
could-
Mark, I'd be for that too.
Okay.
Okay,
mean,
so
Yeah. Just
are
do
we in agreement?
next
We'll,
month
we'll,
and then
we'll
we'll
schedule one, say, 4 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Does this time work?
let me look.
Which for me,
Yeah,
Okay.
let's see, yeah, let me just like,
It's the 12th of March, I believe.
no, it would be in February, so
Oh, I'm
it's,
sorry, 12th of,
February.
I'm thinking ahead. 1, 2, 3,
Looks like the 20th of
20th.
February.
February.
yeah.
Oh, 20th. Okay. 20th. Okay.
I'm
Uh,
happy with that. I mean, I notice
Yeah.
there are officers that attend the various committee meetings, so I think if that stays the case, the board will have a sense of connection with what's going on, even if
Yeah.
we end up switching to 2 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another option, is that we
Yeah.
could just have one of these every 2 months, but we could either all attend the committee meetings together on the same day, or not, just say we're all gonna attend so many committee meetings, or have like, I think I like the idea of having like a committee meetings that are like, these are the officer ones, where the officers are gonna show up and we're gonna like, the officers are gonna kind of chime in. Nancy has her hand raised.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, because I believe that the executive board includes the officers and the committee chair
Yeah.
people, correct?
Yeah.
So it really helps that it helps me as a committee chair to be able to talk with all of you together. And I was hoping that it would help you guys to all be able to talk with one another together, instead of calling each of you individually and talking with you individually with different things. And so to me, there's a lot of value of having the monthly. Our bylaws committee is recommending that these be done on a monthly basis, but of course that's all in draft form right now. So I'm glad you've decided to do another one in a month, but it certainly helps me out. And I realize bylaws aren't necessarily going to be ongoing every year, needing to have this kind of input, but it's because of Oregon public meeting law, it becomes even more important I can't contact you via email or whatever together. It has to all be individual. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So are we in agreement that we'll have one on February 20th and then kind of go from there?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Schedule a special meeting. So I think that was in reference to this, right, Jeff?
Well, and if we
Right, or-
had meetings, like if the committees had meetings that they were ready to schedule,
Okay.
we would have talked about those,
Yeah.
but they don't. So
Got it.
it's just this one. So
Okay. Okay, let's see, item number 9 is public comment. So please, if you're on the meeting here and you would like to make a comment, you raise your hand. Candace?
Yeah, hi. I just had a quick question. I haven't attended many of the bylaws meetings, but I'm assuming you guys are going to discuss the membership and who can vote on things. Can I just send my comments to the email ncacbylaws@gmail.com? I could just send some notes
That
on
would be
that.
great.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all.
All right. I don't see any other hands up. So I think that's the only public comment. Thank you, Candace. And set an agenda for the February 10th general meeting. Jeff, I think you said you got some notes on that.
yeah, so what I have is that we need to have, aside from the normal stuff, we need to nominate and seat the nominations committee, and I think we agreed that you're just gonna pick some people, be the officers or whatnot, and and it will be sort of a pro forma committee that won't actually meet or something. And you will, and we'll be transparent about that when we announce it and offer people the chance to comment and say, and to nominate, to say, no, I would like to serve on the committee, et cetera, and so on. Is that what everyone thinks we agreed on?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I guess, you know, I go back to thinking how we've done this with the bylaws and the steering committee, and it seemed a little bit more formal, in that they made comments about why they were interested in serving and so on. I don't, you know, I mean, I don't know. Are we going to ask folks to do that in the February 10th meeting? About why they want to serve on the nominations committee, because we've done that with the other committees. And then I think there's going to be a vote on whether they're going to be on the nominations committee or not. So for me and for Jeff, if we're going to be asking people to do this, I think it's important for us to tell them, you know, oh, by the way, on February 10th, you should prepare some kind of a short comment about why you want to serve on the nominations committee, right? So is that correct that we would want them to do that?
Well, Mark, it sounds like you're talking about it like it's a committee that will be active and meet and do things.
Well, it is a committee, right?
But,
So I know what you're saying. I know where you're going, Jeff.
I just want to we need to be clear about our message. So if our message is that we're going to, no one volunteered, so we're just going to have some people do it, but they're not going to meet. Then we should be clear about that, and we shouldn't kind of put on this theater like it's a real thing. We should be clear, like we're just doing that because we didn't get any volunteers. And if we are going to try and get people who are actually going to work on the committee, then we should do that and have them say why they want to serve and what they're going to do and all that. Like we shouldn't muddle the message.
Right.
So, and two of our bylaws people are raising their hands.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I just want to comment that if you call it a committee, and which the bylaws do, then you're subject to Oregon open meetings laws. That seems bizarre to have a nominations committee be a public meeting. So I think someone mentioned that it is kind of a committee in form, but not in terms of meeting. I think that needs to be made clear, that you have to make a choice. If you're going to get together, it's got to be open. However, finding people is kind of a solitary job, and emailing the chair with their individual results is probably the way you want to do it.
So Michael was the next person with his hand up.
Yeah, I second everything that Tom said. Right now, I think you're overthinking this. You certainly can have a committee if you've got a bunch of people who want to serve on the committee and so on and so forth. But the job needs to be getting done, and it will be done however you choose to do it in the absence of a bunch of folks who want to be on a committee. But responding to what Tom said, there is value in having a scheduled meeting that is open to the membership and public law to talk about such things as how you're going to do this task. What is your timeline? And developing the structure of how this group of searchers are going to go out on their quest. And then go do it. And after that, you don't have to be meeting as a group anymore. But the structure and the purpose and the manner in which people, the procedures you're going to follow should probably be in a public meeting. And you can do it only once or twice or whatever during the term of your activity. So it doesn't have to be an overwhelming kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I had
Go
a
ahead.
quick comment.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I agree. I think you could just do it the way what works, but I will clarify on Oregon public meeting law, they do make exceptions for things like the nominations committee work.
Oh, do they?
And so you could,
Oh,
yes, they
good.
do. So you
Okay.
can, you can't, from my reading of it anyway. So any kind of personnel or nominating, that kind of thing where you're talking about things that need to be private, they can do.
Wow.
But having a meeting like Michael talked about where you bring people in and describe the procedures and the process, that could be public, but the
Okay.
actual deliberations, if they're going to do deliberations. So, you know, I think the key is to get the job done. And if you're just mainly going to have people apply to be an officer or whatever, then, and you're not doing any real vetting, then I don't know that there is a real purpose of the nominating committee either, so. Even though the bylaws do specify it, the bylaws haven't been changed.
Right,
so.
right. Okay.
Quickly, Mark, can I say something?
Sure, yeah, sorry, Tom.
No, it's okay. Thank you. You know, following up on something that Michael said last time, why don't you put him, because we now have one potential nominee. And the selection of officers obviously is important. Make a pitch to people at the February 10th meeting that we really need people that'll participate in this process, because this is about selecting officers, and we want to do that. We want to do that well, and then have a vote in April as to who the nominations committee will be. And so I heard Michael earlier, having a nominations committee in place 4 months before the election, which I think is the rule, is aspirational. And as I said before, I know, Jeff, that you've sent out numerous emails where this is discussed among other things, I think. But maybe at a general meeting saying, look, this is what's happening. We need people to participate. Because I think people recognize that the election of NCAC officers is an important thing. So maybe you get more people willing to volunteer.
And you can point out that people can self-nominate if they want to be an officer. That's what I would try to encourage, is people to just, if they're interested, they should start talking to you that they want to be an officer, as opposed to just being on a nominating, trying to find these people to find other people.
Yeah.
Direct route also.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit my point on the head, that like rounding up the people to be the like, I don't know whether Chris and Alex are planning to run again, but if they not, like, rounding up people who might want to run is the important effort, and
Yeah.
the nominating committee is just kind of like it. Yeah, if we had people who are really fired up about it, but I feel like trying to coax people to do that job is not yeah, it seems like not the best place to put our effort.
I do like what Tom said, though, that at the February meeting, I know it says 4 months, but I kind of like what Tom said, which is we speak with the membership at the February 10th meeting, and we say that we're looking for candidates, and we're looking for people who can step up and just say that they want to be considered as a candidate, or we were looking for people who want to maybe assist in nominating. But we do that at the February meeting. It's outside of what the bylaws says, that they've got to be 4 months, seated 4 months, but we are where we are right now,
Yeah, the default can always be, if you can't come up with people to be on the nominations committee in April,
Right.
you say, we need names for people who want to be officers.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And, that's Jeff's point, that, maybe we should just do the shortcut, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
So what Mark, are you saying that we should not try and
No, I
have people vote on somebody like to seat a committee in the next meeting, that we should just like kind of make a pitch to have people volunteer?
I'm saying that if, Jeff, you and I are going to try and find people to, who might be interested in being seated in February, but absence of us finding people that want to do that, I think we don't do that. We don't seat them in February.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we say, we're looking for candidates and we're looking for people who might be willing to be on a nominating committee. And we use the general meeting to make a pitch to the membership. And it's outside of the bylaws. It's, the bylaws says 4 months, but I would just say, what is it? We're not very far from our
Election.
yeah, if you can't come up with a nominations committee, then it's been impossible to come up with a nominations committee. And impossibility is almost always an exception to any rule. I mean, if you can't come up with a committee, then you have to try to do it some other way. And so maybe at the next meeting in April, you say, in the absence of committee, who wants to be an officer?
Okay, so the agenda item then is going to be, well, Michael has his hand up, so.
Yeah, my comment is that you got to get the job done. There's nothing in the rules and regulations that are meant to keep you from getting the job done. That's primary. So, keep that point in mind. If anybody raises their hand and wants to serve on a nominating committee, you probably got a pretty good nomination for one of the officers standing right there. Why serve on a committee when there's only a couple of people who are willing to put their time into it?
Well, that's actually, I mean, the bylaws don't actually say this, but sort of as a common sense thing, like serving on the nominating committee should exclude you from running.
Yeah, well, often that's the case, because of a conflict of interest and so on. But get into the real world and look at the two of you. If you are both nominating committee and candidates for the office you are currently holding, then you're in that little problem again. But you got to get
Mark and I are not up for election this time around.
But I'm just using that as an example. The point is that you got to get the job done. And if it's done equitably, and if it's done fairly, and it's done openly, nobody's going to object. Move forward. There is always an option for somebody to object about the process, and then you have to adjudicate an answer.
Okay, so Mark, are we going to is the agenda item going to be to make the pitch to people for people to serve on the nominating committee and not to seat anyone if we don't have?
That's what I would believe it would be at this point, Jeff.
Okay, that's what I will put.
So what if you get 2?
There's no minimum in the in the bylaws, right?
I didn't see any.
Yeah.
Okay. Go back and look, but okay.
Yeah, I didn't see a number in the nominations committee section.
So, I mean, I think it's Mark's call, but if we get 2, it sounds like we're allowed to have a nominating committee of 2.
Yeah.
Like we could probably have a nominating committee of 1.
You're right. I mean, I'm looking, they specify
no
for the
number.
bylaws committee, but not for the nominations committee. So,
Yeah,
okay.
there's no number.
Yeah.
It's a function. That's the job. It's a function.
Yep.
And there's a structure to fill the function. And if that structure can't be met for reality reasons, do what you have to do to get the function done.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. The next agenda item I have down is for like we'll make sure we invite Sarah and that she can attend, and that we're gonna give her a mini meeting. Like that. Like I guess the idea here is maybe if we give her 15 minutes, we don't have to have another meeting. But like we give her 15 minutes, and if we can't figure out like what she needs and how, like whether we're going to participate in it in 15 minutes, then we schedule the meeting. Is that?
I think I understand what you're saying, Jeff. I believe that it would take longer than that. But but I'm happy to ask her.
Yeah. Well, so how much time should we put? Because we want to have her, like at minimum, the minimum we're going to do is schedule another meeting. But I wonder if by putting it on the agenda and giving it, like we could give it half an hour. Like I don't think we actually have that much on the agenda. So we could give it half an hour, even 45 minutes.
Right.
And give her that much time and see how much she can get done in that time. And if we then need, if it's clear that the NCAC is going to continue to have more roles beyond that half an hour, and then we can schedule the following meeting.
That sounds good, Jeff. I just in talking to Sarah, I think, yeah, I think she's got some things to present, and I think a half an hour is the minimum for her, but it's a time when the whole membership will probably be there at a meeting that we normally have, and it's probably a good use of that time for her to have her first conversation with the membership about the cap.
Okay, so half an hour for that. I have 5 minutes for the bylaws committee to just like basically like we're gonna give them the schedule of the meetings that are coming up in February and March, and give a quick pitch about like what's in the meetings and why you want to come, and by the way, the membership one is on this date, so make sure to come to that one, like that stuff. And then 5 minutes for the community plan steering committee, which is going to be more Rand just kind of giving an update, like where we are now, and maybe give a little preview of what's going to come in a couple months. But that's all I have. Did I forget anything? Like
I don't think so. Those are the 3 things I was thinking of, Jeff, the cap and 2 committees.
Oh, and we'll announce that that we're going to have another executive meeting on February 20th.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. I think is that it? I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Okay. So very good. It's I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:19. So good. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Jeff, for I know you're I know you're in on everything. So I thank you very much.
Well, thanks everybody
Thank
for
you
coming.
all.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good evening.
thanks.
Good evening.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Drive
Thank
safe,
you.
Chris.